It's like taking over clock in my mind.
It's strange how when the world hates the sex you're having, how you can internalize that and it can ruin your experience of gay sex. And so if that population struggling to enjoy gay sex was suddenly exposed to drugs that served that purpose, wow, they would take them up in very large numbers. And they have. And it's called Chemsex. Cathinones, crystal methamphetamine, and GHB, GBL. So it's usually those three kinds of drugs that became incredibly popular via gay hookup apps and have pretty much defined our own drug use epidemic.
I was first introduced to Chemsex at the age of 24. There was a period of quite heavy usage, specifically with crystal meth, which was that drug, and everybody has that thing that's like hits the spot, and that's what worked for me. I was a little bit lonely at the time. I was in my very formative years, still figuring out myself. And then suddenly with Chemsex, you could let go of any inhibitions. You had the drugs available to you. You had a sense of community that came with it. Suddenly had access to all these guys and all these experiences that were out of your reach beforehand. And I think a big seductive part of the experience was the fact that I was no longer isolated, that I had a community all of a sudden. It was so easy to make as well. All you had to do is have drugs with you.
It changed the life of gay men immediately, from underground, from cruising areas, from darkened, black-painted windows, sort of pubs in secret and shame, or not being able to say you're gay and trying to figure out from signals if someone else is gay. So it was very much the burst of gay sexual liberation in tech format. That those apps were, some in particular, were being used to sort of propagate new drugs. Gay men have always preferred socializing drugs to sort of introverted ones like heroin and crack cocaine. They've always preferred drugs that help you connect and commune. And that kind of makes sense considering quite a lot of gay men and other people sort of very isolated within their own families, or keeping secrets at school, or ashamed to come out. And so they're looking for community. It becomes a very urgent human need. And so they find drugs that help deliver that need. Let me demystify some of the myths. I think some people think that it's an organized thing where you get an invitation either on Grindr or in the post, and you get a bottle of wine and you go to someone's house at a certain time and there's a group of people there and you all have sex with one big orgy which has a beginning and a finish date, and that just doesn't happen. Nearly all chemsex is one-on-one sex. But because the chems, particularly crystal meth, keeps you awake for a very long time, very few people do chemsex for less than 2 days. In London, 2 gay men die every month from a G overdose in chemsex context. And that's happening in other cities around the world too. It's not always being recorded. But when I was trying to find help, I kept being sent to heroin addiction services, which are brilliant, and there's great staff that work in them, but they're really familiar with those contexts, sort of street homelessness, often the crime, the physical addiction, and the descent into chaos that happens so quickly and dramatically with heroin, crack cocaine. I needed people that understood gay sex, hookup apps, the role of HIV and AIDS in the last 30 years in our lives, the role of religion and gay sex in our lives that makes it kind of complicated, the role of so many straight people thinking gay sex is disgusting and internalizing that. Gay men are disproportionately affected by having problems with sex, not being gay This is not people medicating homosexuality. You know, straight people wave flags at gay pride marches. We have legal rights. We're not medicating homosexuality. We're medicating gay sex. It's the cultural competence that is held within the word chemsex, which is why the word chemsex came into being, and it was adopted, and it shifted chemsex support out of heroin addiction services and into places where gay sex is discussed really easily, like sexual health clinics and gay charities.
I think the idea of harm reduction is to not give people solutions, but help them make self-realizations to a level that it feels comfortable and right for them. I don't think my life was balanced when I was doing chemsex, when I was indulging in it to a level that was problematic. You forgetting your friends and your family members, and all of that starts imploding.
If anyone listening is experiencing sort of chemsex issues and they want to do it, don't go necessarily to your addiction services. Find somewhere where where gay sex is better understood. And that might be a better starting point to find support around chemsex.